ancient, silver sentinel hangs suspended in the vast, velvet theater of the night. It is a world of cool dust and eternal silence, watching over us with a weightless, glowing presence that feels as old as time itself. Before it was a quiet stone. It was born of fire and collision. Yet now it rests in the deep cold, a steady anchor in the dark. Tonight, we will gently dissolve into that pale, lunar light, drifting alongside the tides of history to witness how this companion came to be. There is no destination we must reach, and nothing you need to remember, only the slow, rhythmic journey into the stillness of space. And just as the moon is held perfectly in place by the gentle pull of gravity, allow your own body to surrender to the surface beneath you. You might feel the back of your head becoming pleasantly heavy, sinking deeper into the pillow, grounding you like a resting stone. As that feeling spreads, allow your jaw to soften, to unhinge slightly, releasing the day's tension into the air. Your eyelids are becoming heavy velvet curtains, slowly falling to shut out the world, leaving you safe in the dark. Let's begin. Long ago, the young earth spun alone in a vast and silent darkness. In this ancient era, the surface is not yet solid ground, but a warm, shifting ocean of molten rock that breathes with a slow, heavy rhythm. There's no rush here, only the patient cooling of stone and the quiet drift of clouds made of steam and starlight. The universe waits in an eternal pause, watching a smaller wanderer, a planet named the Ea, gently approaching through the velvet black void. Imagine a deep, glowing red horizon where the sky meets a sea of liquid fire, bubbling softly in the silence. You can feel the warmth radiating against your skin, a heavy, comforting blanket of heat that makes your eyelids feel weightless and relaxed. The merging is not a crash, but a slow unification of worlds, dissolved into one another in a cosmic embrace. It is a gentle reminder that even in the chaotic birth of worlds, there is a profound stillness that invites you to simply let go. Dust and rock floated weightless in a perfect circle around the glowing world. After the great merging, a ring of debris suspended in the silence of space, caught in a delicate balance between falling and flying. The turbulence has dissolved into a quiet, mesmerizing dance of shadows and light. Millions of stones, large and small, are carried by an invisible current, drifting together in a slow, hypnotic river that encircles the planet. Picture a band of shimmering silver and charcoal gray stretching across the midnight sky, reflecting the pale light of a distant sun. The atmosphere is thin and cool, and the silence is absolute, wrapping around you like a soft, protective cocoon. You are witnessing the slow assembly of a celestial companion, piece by patient piece, as time stretches out into an eternal moment. It is a reminder that in the vast emptiness, every scattered piece eventually finds its place of rest, allowing you to settle into the quiet. Gravity pulls the scattered stones together into a single, silent sphere. Slowly, inevitably, the floating rocks are drawn into a soft, gravitational embrace, merging to form a new shape in the heavens. This process is unhurried, a rhythm of gathering that has continued for eons in the quiet dark. The heat is trapped deep within, a subterranean warmth that glows faintly beneath the cooling crust. Imagine looking up to see a massive, textured orb hanging low in the sky, its surface a tapestry of shadows and soft, bioluminescent grace. You feel the heavy, grounding sensation of this new gravity, a pull that anchors you to a state of deep relaxation. The chaos of the past is smoothed over by the patient hand of time, leaving only a perfect, round sentinel to watch over the night. It is a gentle reminder that forces larger than us are holding everything together, so you are free to close your eyes and drift. Great plains of dark lava cooled into smooth and silent seas. These vast basins, known as mare, are spread across the face of the moon like deep pools of shadow. There is no wind to ripple their surface, only the eternal stillness of stone that has settled into its final form. The heat has long since dissolved into the void, leaving behind a landscape that is cool to the touch and perfectly preserved in the vacuum of space. Picture yourself floating above these dark, flat expanses, tracing the rough edges of the crater walls that stand guard around them. The contrast between the bright ancient highlands and the deep black seas creates a hypnotic pattern that tires the eyes in the most pleasant way. The silence here is thick and heavy, pressing gently against your senses. It is a reminder that within the deep quiet of the night, there is a boundless space where you can be completely at peace. The moon slowly slowed its spin to gaze eternally at the earth. Over millions of years, the gravitational rhythm between the two worlds acted as a brake, gently quieting the moon's rotation until it settled into a perfect, motionless stare. One face is forever turned towards us, a constant companion in the vast and lonely night. The far side remains hidden, wrapped in permanent mystery and shadow, while the near side reflects the sun's light in a soft, bioluminescent glow. Imagine the cool, silver light washing over you, a weightless tide that ebbs and flows with the rhythm of your own breathing. The bond between the earth and its moon is invisible but unbreakable, a silent promise of stability in a spinning universe. There's no movement here, only a suspended state of grace. It is a gentle reminder that you are watched over by a presence that never leaves, allowing you to surrender to the dark. The crust hardened into a protective shell of bright ancient stone. The molten heat of the early days slowly retreated deep underground, pulling its warmth into the core and leaving behind a rigid surface that has withstood the erosion of eons. There is no sound of shifting earth here, only the solidified silence of a world at rest. The surface is preserved in a vacuum, untouched by wind or rain, allowing the jagged peaks to stand tall in the quiet void. This landscape is locked in a permanent stasis, where the passage of time is measured not in hours, but in the slow accumulation of starlight. Picture the stark white mountains rising against the backdrop of an infinite black sky, glowing with a ghostly, bioluminescent light. You can feel the coolness of the rock, a dry and heavy texture that absorbs all warmth, leaving only a refreshing chill in the air. The light creates long, stretching shadows that drift slowly across the valleys like invisible fingers. It is a gentle reminder that beneath the surface chaos, there is always a solid foundation waiting to support you in your rest. Ancient collisions left deep hollows that hold the darkness forever. In the early days, stones fell from the sky in a slow, rhythmic rain, carving out bowls of silence in the lunar surface. These impacts are not harsh now. They are merely memories etched into the grayest, frozen in time. The energy of the impact has long since dissolved, replaced by a profound stillness that fills every depression and valley. The ground here has accepted these changes with patience, cradling the shadows in its lowest points. Imagine standing at the rim of a vast crater, looking down into a subterranean depth where the sun never reaches. The shadows are absolute, a deep velvet black that feels soft and thick, wrapping around the bottom like a heavy quilt. You feel weightless here, suspended on the edge of the void, watching the interplay of light and dark. It is a reminder that even the deepest hollows are eventually filled with a quiet peace, allowing you to settle into the dark. A blanket of fine silver dust covers every silent stone. Over billions of years, the surface has been ground down into a soft, powdery layer known as regolith. It's undisturbed, a gray ocean of particles that have not moved for an eternity. There is a sense of deep cushioning here, as if the moon itself is wrapped in a layer of soft velvet to dampen any noise or vibration. The dust waits spatially, absorbing the harsh light of the sun and radiating a gentle, cool glow back into the void. Nothing stirs the sediment, it is heavy with the weight of ages. Picture your hand brushing against this ancient powder, feeling the microscopic grains drift apart like mist. The color is a spectrum of grays from charcoal to pale ash, shimmering faintly under the starlight. It feels soft and dry, a texture that invites you to sink down and be held by the ground. It is a reminder that time softens all hard edges, turning them into a comfortable bed where you can safely rest. An invisible thread pulls the oceans in our rhythmic breathing. The heavy sphere of the moon tugs gently at the earth, creating the slow rise and fall of the tides. This is a silent conversation between two worlds, a gravitational embrace that has continued without pause since the beginning of time. The water swells and recedes, mimicking the slow inhalation and exhalation of a sleeping giant. It is a force that cannot be seen, only felt in the deep, rhythmic pulsing of the sea that travels across the globe. Imagine you are floating in a vast body of water, feeling the water lift you up and set you down with infinite slowness. The moonlight reflects on the surface, creating a path of bioluminescent blue that stretches to the horizon. You feel the pull of the moon in your own chest, a comforting weight that synchronizes your breathing with the cosmos. It is a gentle reminder that you are part of a larger rhythm carried by forces that require no effort from you. Light and shadow drift slowly across the face of the world. As the moon circles the earth, the sun's light creeps across its surface in a slow, measured progression that takes weeks to complete. The dividing line between day and night, the Terminator, moves with a patient pace, swallowing the landscape in darkness before revealing it again. Darkness retreats and returns in an eternal cycle, hiding unrevealing the ancient mountains. There is no rush in this transition, only the inevitable flow of time washing over the craters and plains. Picture a landscape where the shadow is a physical presence, a cooling wave that slides over the ground. Where the light touches, the rock glows white. Where the shadow falls, the world dissolves into the comfort of the void. You feel the temperature drop pleasantly as the shadow passes over you, wrapping you in a cool, protective night. It is a reminder that darkness is not an absence, but a comforting blanket that arrives on time to bring you rest. There's no wind to disturb the eternal silence here. The moon exists in a realm of absolute quiet that has lasted for eons, undisturbed by any breath of air. No breeze rustles the dust, and no storm disturbs the peace of the gray plains. The silence is thick and heavy, a physical weight that presses against the ears and calms the mind. Sounds from the outside world are dissolved before they can begin, leaving only a profound, ringing stillness that permeates the rock itself. Everything is suspended in a perfect, glass-like clarity. Imagine a place where the air is perfectly still, suspended in a vacuum of crystal-clear emptiness. The sky is not blue but a deep, endless black, studded with stars that do not twinkle but burn with a steady, patient light. You feel a sense of isolation that is not lonely, but deeply private and safe, a sanctuary where nothing can reach you. It is a gentle reminder that in true silence, the mind is free to float away from all noise and find its center. The paler pangs suspended in the velvet night forever. High above the sleeping earth, the moon continues its patient vigil, watching over the passing of ages without blinking. It is a constant in a changing sky, a fixed point of reference that offers stability to all who look up from the ground. The orbit is a closed loop, an eternal return that promises there is nowhere else to go and nothing else to do. The celestial body is simply there, heavy and bright, anchored in the darkness by invisible hands. Picture the full moon bathing your room in a soft, bioluminescent glow, turning familiar shapes into mysterious shadows. You feel the cool, silver light seeping into your skin, relaxing every muscle and dissolving every tension in your body. It is a presence that feels like a guardian holding the night steady while you sleep. It is a reminder that the universe is vast and stable, holding you securely so you can let go and drift into dreams. Day blue marble rises slowly above the curved gray horizon. Viewed from the silent surface of the moon, the earth is a stunning jewel suspended in the endless black void, radiating a soft and steady light. There is no sound to accompany this ascent, only the slow, visual rhythm of the sphere climbing into the sky. The continents and clouds are blurred into a single, bioluminescent swirl of azure and white, glowing with a gentle intensity that bathes the lunar dust in a cool reflection. It hangs there, heavy and motionless, a fixed point of comfort in the vast emptiness of space. Imagine standing on the quiet sea of grey dust, looking up to see this familiar blue light casting long, soft shadows behind the rocks. You feel a sense of distant connection, yet you are removed from all noise and activity, wrapped in the safety of the silence. The light washes over you like a cool, weightless water. It is a gentle reminder that your home is safe and distant, allowing you to rest in the quiet of the observation. Sound fades away completely before it can ever begin. In this vacuum, the air has dissolved into nothingness, leaving behind a realm of absolute and perfect clarity. Without air to carry the vibration, even the falling of a meteor, the shifting of a stone happens in total silence. The landscape is frozen in a hush that is deeper than any quiet found on earth, a profound stillness that seeps into the mind and slows the thoughts. There is no wind to brush against your skin, only the sensation of pure, empty space resting lightly against you. Picture a world where every movement is mute, where the chaos of noise has been erased by the physics of the void. You are surrounded by a silence so thick it feels like a heavy, velvet blanket wrapped around your ears, muffling the universe. The stillness is not empty. It is a presence that holds you. It is a reminder that you can turn down the volume of the world until there is nothing left but peace. Deep cold settles permanently in the shadows of the craters. While the sunlit peaks burn with ancient heat, the depressions that are hidden from the light hold a temperature that has not changed for billions of years. This is a deep, preserving cold, a stillness of energy that stops all movement and decay. The darkness here is solid and heavy, pooling in the bottom of the basins like a subterranean lake vein. The transition from light to dark is sharp and immediate, a sudden step into the comforting arms of the night. Imagine walking slowly from the bright, searing light into the cool, dark embrace of a crater's shadow. You feel the heat evaporate instantly from your skin, replaced by a refreshing, numbing coolness that sinks deep into your bones. It feels like stepping into a quiet, air-conditioned room on a hot day, but infinitely more vast and determined. It is a gentle reminder that there is always a cool, dark place waiting to offer you relief from the heat of the day. The stars burn with a steady and unblinking light. Without an atmosphere to scatter the beam, the twinkling of the night sky disappears, replaced by a gaze that is constant and piercing. The constellations hang like diamonds pinned to a heavy curtain of velvet, their light traveling across the invisible distances to rest upon the gray stones. This light is ancient, having traveled for eons to reach the silent surface, arriving with a patience that matches the slow drift of the moon itself. There is no wavering here, only a fixed and eternal brightness that watches over the sleeping world. Picture yourself lying back on the soft, powdery dust, looking up into a sky that is more full and bright than any you have ever seen. The Milky Way stretches across your vision like a bioluminescent river of silver smoke, flowing silently through the dark. You feel small and weightless beneath this canopy of light. It is a reminder that the universe is vast and steady, holding its light still so you can close your eyes. A slow shadow creeps across the surface to bring the night. The phase of the moon is waning, and the line of darkness, known as the Terminator, advances with an agonizingly slow rhythm across the plains. It swallows the bright features one by one, extinguishing the light and returning the landscape to its primordial slumber. This is not a rush of darkness, but a gradual, inevitable covering, a blanket being pulled out slowly over the head of the world. The rocks and dust cool down as the shadow touches them, releasing their heat back into the void and settling into a frozen rest. Imagine watching this tide of shadow approach, a wall of restful black that promises an end to the day. You feel the anticipation of the dark, a heavy, drowsy sensation that weighs down your eyelids as the light fades. The darkness wraps around you, dissolving the shapes of the world into a soft, uniform gray. It is a gentle reminder that rest is inevitable, coming slowly and surely to cover you in peace. Deep within the center sleeps a heavy iron heart. Beneath the layers of grey dust, the crushed rock, and the cooling mantle, the core of the moon rests in a subterranean slumber. It is the anchor of the world, a dense and silent weight that generates the gravity holding you to the surface. The fires that once burned here have slowed to a gentle warmth, buried under thousands of miles of insulating stone. It acts as a stabilizer, a heavy pendulum that keeps the moon's face turned eternally towards the earth. Picture your consciousness sinking down through the crust, moving through the dark, quiet layers of rock, deeper and deeper into the planet. You feel the sensation of becoming heavier and more grounded as you approach the center. It is a feeling of being held fast, of being rooted in something ancient and unloving. The stability is absolute. It is a reminder that deep inside there is a core of stillness that remains heavy and calm, no matter what happens on the surface. The pair travels together through the endless Milky Way. The Earth and its moon are locked in a gravitational dance, drifting through the galaxy at a speed that cannot be felt. There is no friction in this journey, only the smooth, frictionless glide of two spheres floating in a vacuum. They move through the invisible currents of space, passing through clouds of stardust and vast fields of emptiness, carried by momentum from the beginning of time. The journey has no destination and no end. It is simply a state of being, a continuous, effortless flow. Imagine you are floating alongside them, weightless and free, watching the slow rotation of the worlds as they sail through the dark. You feel no wind, no vibration, only the sensation of being carried by a river that is wide and deep. The motion is so smooth it feels like stillness. It is a gentle reminder that you do not need to steer or struggle. You are being carried safely through the night by forces far greater than yourself. The ancient shield dissolved into the quiet void long ago. Once, a magnetic breath protected the surface, but it has faded, leaving the stone open to the invisible touch of the sun. The energy dissipated slowly, a long exhale that lasted for millions of years before settling into total stillness. There is no resistance now, only the passive acceptance of the solar wind that washes over the Great Plains. The invisible lines of force have entangled and vanished, leaving a calm, mutual silence in their wake. The atmosphere is stripped away, leaving the ground naked to the cosmos. Imagine standing on a plane where the air feels perfectly neutral, stripped of all electrical charge. You see the solar wind as a faint, bioluminescent mist drifting down from the black sky, coating the rocks in a soft, glowing static. You feel a sensation of heavy release, as if a tight armor has been removed from your body, leaving you light and unburdened. It is a gentle reminder that defenses can be laid down, allowing you to simply be open to the quiet. Tiny grains arrive silently from the depths of space. These microscopic travelers strike the surface not with force, but with a rhythmic, endless patience that turns rock into flower. This process is the slow gardening of the cosmos, a gentle erosion that softens every sharp edge over the span of eons. The dust is churned and turned over layer by microscopic layer in a cycle that creates the softest bed in the solar system. There is no hurry in this work. It is a task measured in geologic breaths. The result is a landscape that is smooth, unrounded, devoid of anything sharp or jarring. Picture a single grain of sand floating in zero gravity, spinning slowly before it touches the ground. It lands with a soft puff of gray smoke that hangs suspended in the vacuum. You feel the texture of the ground becoming softer beneath you, like sinking into a deep mattress of memory foam that remembers your shape. It is a reminder that even the hardest obstacles are eventually softened by time, leaving a comfortable place to rest. One face remains forever turned away from the Earth. The far side of the moon exists in a permanent state of privacy, shielded from the gaze of the home planet. It is a sanctuary of craters on rugged highlands that have never witnessed the blue marble hanging in the sky. Silence here feels deeper, more isolated, wrapped in a blanket of absolute solitude that protects it from all observation. Signals and noise are blocked by the mass of the moon itself, creating a quiet zone of radio silence where nothing can intrude. The landscape is wilder, thicker with ancient impacts, holding secrets in the dark. Imagine drifting over this hidden landscape, where the craters are thick and deep, shadowing each other in a complex tapestry of black and gray. You feel a profound sense of anonymity, a relief from being seen or needed by anyone. The darkness you feel is like a heavy curtain drawn shut against the world. It is a gentle reminder that it is safe to hide away in your own private space where no one can disturb your peace. An invisible river flows constantly from the distant sun. This stream of charged particles washes over the lunar surface, bathing every stone in a silent, energetic shower. The moon moves through this river like a stone in a stream, parting the current without resistance. The particles are trapped in the dust, darkening the soil over billions of years in a process of slow, chemical maturation. It is a bathing of the world in the essence of the star, a connection that bridges the cold gap of space. The interaction is soundless, a molecular dance that happens on a scale too small to see but too vast to ignore. Picture the solar wind not as invisible radiation, but as a soft, golden breeze that ripples across the gray dust. You can feel a phantom warmth on your skin, a tingling sensation that relaxes the nerves. The light plays across the surface like sunlight on the bottom of a clear pool. It is a reminder that you are constantly bathed in warm energy that sustains you without you having to ask. The temperature rises and falls in a slow, deep rhythm. Without an atmosphere to moderate the heat, the surface breathes through extremes of hot and cold that stretch over weeks. The land bakes in the long day and freezes in the long night, a pendulum swaying between the two absolute states of existence. This cycle causes the rocks to expand and contract, a microscopic heartbeat within the stone itself that ticks away the ages. The transition is a slow fading of energy, a release of all tension into the cooling void. The ground itself relaxes as the heat leaves it. Imagine the sun setting in the heat lifting off the ground like a visible vapor, spiraling up into the black sky. You feel the cool air settling around your shoulders, a crisp and heavy chill that numbs the senses in the most pleasant way. The world turns blue and silver in the fading light. It is a gentle reminder that after the intensity of the day, the cooling relief of the night is guaranteed to arrive. Shadows merge to form a silent watching face. The random pooling of ancient lava and the scattering of craters have created a pattern that looks back at the world below. It is not a real face, but a trick of the light and shadow, a comforting illusion that has accompanied humanity through every night. The features are soft and blurred, worn down by time into a benign expression of eternal patience. It hangs in the sky like a portrait painted in shades of ash and charcoal, unchanging and calm. There's no judgment in this gaze, only a steady presence that marks the passage of the night. Picture this silver face gazing down through your window, its expression one of total, unconditional acceptance. The light it reflects is not harsh, but a soft, bioluminescent glow that illuminates the dark corners of the room. You feel seen but not judged, watched over by an ancient guardian. It is a reminder that you are never truly alone in the dark, and you can rest under a watchful, friendly gaze. The surface acts as a dusty mirror for the sun. The moon generates no light of its own, it simply accepts the brilliance of the star and softens it for the night. The harsh, blinding fusion of the sun is filtered through the gray dust, transformed into a cool, silver beam that is gentle on the eyes. It is an act of translation, turning the overwhelming power of the day into the soothing glow of the night. The light is passive, borrowed, and freely given back to the void in a silent offering. There is no effort in this reflection, just the physics of light striking stone. Imagine the light hitting the dusty surface and scattering into a million soft rays of white and blue. You are bathing in this reflected glow, feeling it wash over you like cool milk. It is not heavy, it is weightless illumination that reveals only what needs to be seen. It is a gentle reminder that you do not need to shine brightly, it is enough to simply reflect the light and rest. A fragile veil of atoms hovers silently above the ground. It is not air, but a whisper of presence that clings to the surface, a tenuous atmosphere that is barely there. Sodium and potassium atoms drift in sparse, lazy arcs, released by the sun and held for a moment before vanishing back into the void. It is a breathing that is almost invisible, a layer so thin that it offers no resistance to movement or light. This delicate exosphere does not trap heat or carry sound. It simply exists as a faint aura around the sleeping world. Picture this faint atmosphere as a shimmering bioluminescent mist of pale violet and soft orange hovering just inches above the gray dust. You can feel the air around you becoming thin and pure, dissolving the heaviness in your chest and making your breathing feel effortless and light. It is a gentle reminder that you do not need to hold on to everything tightly. You can let things drift and fade. The dark side glows softly with the light of hope. When the moon turns its back to the sun, it is not left in total blackness, but is bathed in a secondary light reflected from the clouds of earth. This is the ashen light, a ghostly illumination that reveals the seasoned craters in a dead, mysterious clarity. The light is recycled, bounced from the oceans to the moon and back again, softened with every reflection until it becomes a faint whisper of brightness. There are no harsh shadows here, only a uniform, charcoal glow that smooths over every imperfection. Imagine the crescent moon holding the rest of the sphere in its arms, glowing with a faint, deep blue luminescence against the black sky. You feel the comfort of a nightlight in a dark room, a small beacon that keeps the total darkness at bay. It is a gentle reminder that even when you turn away from the light, a soft glow remains to keep you safe. Deep inside, the rock shifts in a slow, settling sigh. The moon is not dead, but sleeping, and occasionally it adjusts its position in the dark with a deep, resonant vibration. Far beneath the crust, the rocks groan and settle under the tidal pull of the earth, a movement that travels slowly through the cooling mantle. It is a release of ancient tension, a microscopic adjustment that brings the world into a more perfect, comfortable rest. The surface does not crack, but hums with a frequency too low to hear, a lullaby of stone settling against stone. Imagine lying on the surface and feeling a gentle, rhythmic thrum rising from the subterranean depths, like a large cat purring against your chest. The vibration loosens your muscles, shaking free the tightness in your back and shoulders. It is a reminder that it is good to shift, settle, and find a more comfortable position before you sleep. Dust floats upward in the twilight where day meets night. At the dividing line where the shadow and light collide, a strange and silent phenomenon occurs in the vacuum. An electrostatic charge lifts the finest grains of regolith off the ground, causing them to hover suspended in the void. They float there, a silent fountain of particles dancing in the low gravity, caught between the sun and the dark. It is a defiance of weight, a slow levitation that creates a hazy, glowing horizon. Picture a landscape where the ground dissolves into a faint, bioluminescent fog of silver dust, suspended motionless against the black sky. You watch the particles drift up and down in slow motion, mesmerizing your eyes with their weightless ballet. You feel your own body becoming as light as the dust, lifting gently off the mattress. It is a gentle reminder that the burdens you carry are not as heavy as they seem, and they can be lifted effortlessly. Nothing changes in this museum of eternal and perfect stillness. Without wind to carve the rocks or water to wash away the dust, every ridge and valley remains exactly as it was millions of years ago. The landscape is a memory frozen in stone, preserved against the decay of time in a perfect vacuum. Footprints left in the dust will remain sharp and clear for eons, undisturbed by the passing of ages. It is a place where the past and the present are identical, merged into a single, everlasting moment of peace. Imagine a garden of stone statues that never weather, bathed in a cool gray light that preserves them in crystal clarity. You feel a sense of timelessness, a relief from the constant pressure to move, change, or improve. The world here simply is. It is a reminder that you are allowed to pause completely, holding still in a moment of quiet preservation. Hidden colors sleep within the vast seas of grey dust. To the distant eye, the moon is monochrome, but close up, the chemistry of the cosmos reveals itself in subtle, sleeping shades. The ancient lava flows hold tints of deep midnight blue and dusty brown, buried in the regolith and visible only to the patient observer. These colors are muted and soft, painting the surface in a palette of deep rest and shadow. They do not shout, but whisper their presence, adding depth to the darkness. Picture the ground beneath you shifting slowly from slate gray to a deep, calming indigo, vibrating with a low, visual frequency. The colors swirl together like oil and water, dark and rich, absorbing your vision and tiring your eyes in a pleasant way. You feel the richness of the dark tones wrapping around you like a heavy colored quilt. It is a gentle reminder that there is beauty and depth in the shadows, waiting to comfort you. Light copper shadow slowly swallows the light of the moon. Occasionally the earth passes directly between the sun and the moon, casting a long red shadow across the lunar surface. The bright silver glow fades into a deep, rusty orange, the color of a dying ember in a cooling fire. It is a slow dimming of the lights, a cosmic signal that it is time to rest. The temperature drops, and the world is bathed in the sunset light of 1,000 distant horizons. There is no sudden darkness, just a gradual, warming shift in the spectrum of the night. Imagine the world around you turning a warm, deep amber color, bathing you in a twilight that feels thick, drowsy, and safe. You feel the visual noise of the white light fading away, leaving a soft, dark warmth that encourages your eyes to close. It is a reminder that the lights are dimming now, signaling that the time for activity is over and the time for sleep has begun. Deep beneath the surface are vast and empty stone tunnels. These are the lava tubes, hollow arteries of rock left behind when the rivers of fire drained away eons ago. They remain perfectly preserved in the subterranean dark, shielded from the harsh radiation and the swinging temperatures of the surface. The silence here is enclosed and absolute, protected by miles of thick basalt walls that block out the universe. It is a space of total neutrality, where the environment is stable and unchanging, a permanent sanctuary carved by the heat of the past. Imagine walking into one of these massive, cathedral-like caverns, feeling the vast space open up around you in the dark. The air, or the lack of it, feels still and heavy, and the darkness presses against you like a soft, protective blanket. You are deep inside the moon, held in a safe, hollow pocket of stone. It is a gentle reminder that deep within, there is a sheltered place where you can retreat and be completely safe. Winding channels cut through the gray plains like dry rivers. These are the isles, sinuous valleys that meander across the landscape, marking the path where ancient lava once flowed. Now, they are empty gorges of shadow, twisting and turning through the flat maria in a lazy, serpentine rhythm. The edges are soft and crumbled, worn down by the slow settling of the crust over billions of years. The bottom of the channel is a river of darkness, cool and deep, flowing nowhere. Picture yourself floating above one of these winding valleys, tracing its curve with your eyes as it stretches toward the horizon. The contrast between the bright surface and the shadowed trench creates a hypnotic line that leads your vision away into the distance. It feels like following a path that has already been cleared for you, requiring no effort to navigate. It is a reminder that the path has been laid out long ago, allowing you to simply drift along the current. High mountains at the poles catch the sun forever, while deep craters lie in eternal shadow. There are peaks on the lunar rim that are bathed in a perpetual, grazing light. The sun circles the horizon but never sets on these high summits, creating islands of gold in a sea of darkness. The light here is thin and stretched, casting shadows that reach for hundreds of miles across the landscape. This is a place of constant dawn, where the waking moment is frozen in time, never advancing to the heat of noon nor falling into the cold of night. Imagine standing on one of these glowing peaks, feeling the warmth of the eternal sun on your face while the rest of the world sleeps below. The light is soft bioluminescence and reassuring, a beacon that never blinks out. It is a gentle reminder that even when the world feels dark, there is always a high place where the light remains constant. Light streaks of dust reach out across the dark hemisphere, radiating from the impact sites of ancient craters. These rays are splashes of crushed rock that were thrown across the world in a single silent moment. They stretch for thousands of miles, painting white lines over the dark basalt seas, a frozen explosion of brightness that has not faded in a billion years. The energy of their creation is long gone, leaving only a beautiful, geometric pattern of light that wraps around the globe. Picture the surface as a dark canvas, and these rays as lines of silver paint splattered by a giant brush. They glow with a ghostly intensity under the full moon, guiding the eye to the center of rest. You trace the lines inward, moving from the chaotic edge to the calm, central point of the crater. It is a reminder that even scattered thoughts can be drawn back to a single, quiet center of peace. The moon slowly drifts further into the dark, expanding void. With every rotation, the satellite inches away from the Earth, widening the gap between the two worlds with infinite slowness. It is a gradual release, a loosening of the gravitational grip that allows for more space and silence to grow between them. This retreat is not an abandonment, but a gentle expansion of the orbit, a spiraling out into the freedom of the deep black. The rhythm of the dance becomes slower and wider, stretching the time it takes to complete a circle. Imagine an invisible tether connecting you to the center, slowly lengthening, giving you more room to float and breathe. You feel the sensation of space opening up around you, the comfort of distance, and the freedom of a wider orbit. It is a gentle reminder that it is natural to drift away, to take the space you need, and to float freely in the quiet. Dark stones are smooth and heavy with ancient iron. The vast dark seas of the moon are paved with basalt, a dense volcanic rock that cooled rapidly in the vacuum of space. These stones are rich in iron and magnesium, giving them a weight and solidity that feels grounding. They absorb the light rather than reflecting it, creating the deep, restful patches of darkness that characterize the face of the moon. The texture is fine-grained and solid, a testament to the heavy fluid that once covered the world. Picture holding a smooth, round piece of this dark stone in your hand. You feel its coolness seeping into your palm, and its surprising way anchors you to the bed. It is a physical piece of the night, solid and real, pulling away any lightness or anxiety. It is a reminder that the ground beneath you is solid and heavy, capable of supporting your full weight while you rest. The shape of the light changes in a rhythmic breath, from the thin silver crescent to the bright round orb and back again. The phases of the moon mark the passage of time in a slow, visual respiration. The shadow creeps across the face and then retreats, a monthly cycle of hiding and revealing that mimics the inhaling and exhaling of the universe. It is a slow motion pulse that governs the night, a clock that has no hands but simply glows. There is a certainty in this pattern. No matter how dark the moon becomes, the light always returns to fill the circle. Imagine watching the moon wax and wane in a time-lapse, seeing the light swell like a chest taking an air, and then recede into a peaceful emptiness. You match your own breathing to this cosmic rhythm, slow and deep. It is a gentle reminder that everything moves in cycles, and you can trust the rhythm to carry you through the night. Ancient ice crystals wait in the deepest polar shadows. Hidden at the very bottom of the sheer cliffs at the north and south poles, there are pockets of frozen water that have never seen the sun. These crystals are billions of years old, trapped in a permanent subterranean freeze that preserves them like diamonds in a vault. There is no melting here, only the eternal stability of solid ice mixed with the gray regolith. The darkness in these traps is absolute, shielding the ice from the vacuum and the light. Picture a glimmer of faint bioluminescent blue buried deep within the charcoal dust, a hidden reservoir of cold that rests in perfect silence. You feel the temperature here as a solid, grounding force, the heavy stillness that slows down the vibration of every atom. It is a world of suspended animation where nothing ever needs to move. It is a gentle reminder that deep within the dark, there are reserves of cool peace that are never depleted. The pull of the ground is soft and forgiving. On this smaller world, the grip of gravity is weak, holding you to the surface with a gentle, tentative hand. The heaviness that you feel on Earth is dissolved here, replaced by a sensation of very lightness. Every movement is slow and graceful, a drifting motion that feels more like floating than walking. The body feels unburdened, as if the weights carrying the muscles have been suddenly lifted away by the invisible current of space. Imagine pushing off the ground and rising slowly into the black sky, suspended for a long, weightless moment before drifting back down like a feather. The landing is soft and cushioned by the thick layer of dust. You feel a sense of physical relief as the pressure on your joints and back melts away into the void. It is a reminder that the burdens you carry are not part of you, and in the right space, they simply float away. A ceiling of infinite velvet hangs over the ground. Without an atmosphere to scatter the blue light, the sky remains a deep, impenetrable black, even when the sun is shining. It is a vast, open dome that reveals the depth of the universe right down to the horizon. The stars do not hide during the day. They are always there, burning with a steady, bioluminescent unspatience against the void. This open sky creates a sense of boundless space, a room without walls where the mind can expand forever. Picture looking up from the great plain into a darkness that goes on forever, a smooth and perfect backdrop to the glowing earth. You feel the coolness of the void touching your face, a sensation of vast, clean emptiness that clears the mind of all clutter. There is no ceiling to limit your dreams. It is a gentle reminder that above the busy surface of life, there is always a vast, quiet space where you can be free. Light and dark are separated by a sharp line. In the vacuum of the moon, there is no twilight to blur the edges of the shadows. The transition from the bright, sunlit rock to the ink-black shade is instant and crisp. Shadows stretch out across the crater floors like pools of spilled ink, opaque and heavy. They do not fade at the edges, but end abruptly, creating a landscape of high contrast and perfect geometry. This clarity is soothing to the spirit, a world where things are simple and defined. Imagine stepping from the bright, warm glare into the absolute shadow of a boulder. You disappear instantly into the comfort of the dark, hidden completely from the view of the universe. The shade wraps around you like a heavy cloak, cutting off the light and the heat in a single moment. It is a reminder that you can choose to step out of the spotlight and vanish into the rest of the dark whenever you need. The sun hangs motionless in the sky for weeks. The rhythm of the day is slowed down to a geological pace, with the sun taking nearly a month across the sky. There is no rush to finish the day, no racing against the setting sun. The afternoon stretches out for hundreds of hours, a suspended moment of warm light that feels eternal. Shadows move with an imperceptible slowness, creeping across the dust like the hands of a clock that measures centuries. This is a place where urgency has no meaning. Picture yourself sitting on a warm stone, feeling the steady, unchanging heat of the sun on your skin. The light does not flicker or fade, it simply remains, holding the world in a warm embrace. You feel time dissolving, leaving only the present moment. It is a gentle reminder that there is always enough time, and you are free to rest in the warmth of the now. The edge of the world curves gently nearby. Because the moon is smaller than the earth, the horizon is closer, bending away visibly to reveal the curvature of the sphere. You can see the limit of the land, a smooth gray line that separates the solid ground from the starry void. It creates a feeling of intimacy, as if you are standing on a small, private island floating in the sea of space. The world feels manageable here, contained and comprehensible. Imagine standing in the center of a vast crater, watching the rim curve up to cut the sky like a giant, protective bowl. You feel centered and grounded, held safely within the curve of the horizon. The vastness of space is kept at bay by the shape of the land itself. It is a reminder that your own world is small and safe, and you are the center of your own quiet space. Time has lost its power to age the stone. On Earth, wind and rain wear down the mountains, but here, the rocks remain sharp and pristine for billions of years. There is no rust, no decay, no biological clock ticking away the moments. A stone placed on the ground today will look exactly the same when the stars have shifted in the sky. It is a preservation of the present, a locking of the moment into an eternal stasis. The anxiety of change is absent here. Picture a landscape of silver and gray that is immune to the ravages of time, a sanctuary where everything stays exactly where it belongs. You feel a deep sense of stability, a knowing that nothing is slipping away. The environment is patient, waiting without expectation. It is a gentle reminder that underneath the changes of life, there is a part of you that remains timeless, still, and perfectly at rest. A vast distance of empty space acts as a buffer. Between the Earth and its moon lies a chasm of silence that is 300,000 kilometers wide. This gap is not a void of separation, but a thick layer of insulation that protects the night from the noise of the day. Sounds and worries from the surface are swallowed by this distance, dissolved into the vacuum long before they can reach the quiet gray plains. There is no medium here to carry the vibration of a human voice, only the perfect insulating silence of the deep black. Imagine you are floating in the exact center of this divide, suspended in a place where the earth is just a silent painting and the moon is a waiting bed. You feel the profound isolation as a form of armor, wrapping you in a layer of peace that nothing can penetrate. It is a gentle reminder that you can place a vast distance between yourself and the noise of the world to find your rest. Hidden weights lie buried deep beneath the dark seas. Under the smooth, basalt plains of the Morea, there are concentrations of mass that have sunk into the crust, creating pockets of intense gravity. These invisible anchors, known as maws, kongs, pull with a strength that is greater than the surrounding rock. They are the heavy, settled remnants of ancient asteroids that were swallowed by the moon and put to rest in the subterranean dark. The gravity here is not uniform, it undulates gently, pulling you down with a little more insistence in the dark places. Picture yourself lying on the surface above one of these hidden weights, feeling a force that reaches up from the core to hold you firmly against the ground. You feel heavier here, more grounded, as if the moon itself is embracing you and refusing to let you drift away. It is a reminder that there are deep, heavy forces at work that exist solely to keep you grounded and safe. The moon acts as a gentle brake on the Earth. For billions of years, the gravitational pull of the satellite has dragged against the oceans, creating a frictional caress that slowly quiets the spinning of our world. It is a cosmic deceleration, a gradual lengthening of the day to allow for more time to rest. The rush of the rotation is being tamed by the patience of the moon, slowing the frantic pace of the planet down to a more rhythmic, manageable tempo. The energy of the spin is dissipated into the heat of the tides, lost to the universe in a long, slow exhale. Imagine a giant, invisible hand gently resting on the side of a spinning top, applying just enough pressure to slow it down without stopping it. You feel the frantic speed of the day bleeding away, replaced by a slower, drifting rhythm that matches your heartbeat. It is a gentle reminder that it is natural to slow down, to lose momentum, and to come to a gradual, peaceful halt. A zone of radio silence protects the far side forever. The mass of the moon is so dense and rocky that it blocks all artificial signals sent from the Earth, creating a shadow of total electronic quiet. On the far side, the chatter of the radio waves, the streams of data, and the noise of the broadcast are completely cut off. The stone acts as a shield, creating a sanctuary where the universe can be heard without interference. It is the quietest place in the solar system, a realm where the mind is free from the constant hum of connection. Picture yourself descending into a deep valley on the far side, watching the signal bars of the world drop to zero. You feel a sudden physical relief as the invisible pressure of being connected vanishes, leaving you in a blissful private solitude. It is a reminder that you have permission to disconnect completely and hide in a place where no signal can reach you. The landscape is painted in a soothing spectrum of grays. There are no bright, jarring colors on the moon, only the restful simplicity of monochrome. The sun bleaches the highlands to a blinding white, while the shadows paint the lowlands in charcoal, slate, and deep ash. This lack of color reduces the visual noise, calming the optic nerve and allowing the brain to sink into a state of low stimulation. It is a world seen through the lens of an old, black and white film, where everything is stripped down to its essential form of light and shadow. Imagine looking out over a rolling plain where every rock is a different shade of silver, glowing softly against the backdrop of the black sky. You feel your eyes relaxing, no longer darting around to process color, but settling into the soft, unified tone of the environment. It is a gentle reminder that simplicity is a form of rest, and stripping away the details brings you peace. A single invisible point balances the dance of two worlds. The Earth and the Moon do not just spin, they orbit around a shared center of gravity called the Berry-Stella. This pivot point lies deep within the Earth, the hidden anchor that keeps the two bodies locked in their eternal waltz. It is a point of perfect equilibrium, the fulcrum upon which the night balances. The motion is a rocking sensation, a gentle swaying back and forth that has continued without interruption since the dawn of the solar system. Picture yourself curled up at the center point, feeling the massive weight of the Earth on one side and the heavy pull of the Moon on the other. You are held in the exact middle, rocked slowly by the movement of the spheres like a child in a cradle. It is a reminder that you are held in a balance that is perfectly calculated to keep you steady. The surface slowly darkens as it ages in the void. When the rocks are first exposed, they are bright and jagged, but over millions of years, the cosmic weather paints them with a coat of maturity. The solar wind and the microscopic dust coat the stones in a layer of dark patina, turning the bright white into a deep, restful gray. This darkening is a sign of peace, a visual evidence that the land has remained undisturbed for eons. The brightness of youth fades into the comfortable, shadowed wisdom of the ancient. There is no desire to shine brightly here, only the willingness to absorb the quiet. Imagine watching a bright stone slowly fading in color over the centuries, turning a rich, dark charcoal that is easy on the eyes. You feel the comfort of the dark settling over you, hiding you from the glare. It is a gentle reminder that fading into the background is a natural and peaceful part of existing. A single ray of gold touches the highest peak first. After 14 days of absolute darkness, the sun slowly crests the horizon, painting the tip of the central mountain in a brilliant, silent light. This is not a sudden burst of morning, but a slow, majestic reveal that takes hours to unfold. The light creeps down the sides of the mountain, chasing the shadows into the valleys below in a fluid, rhythmic motion. The contrast between the illuminated rock and the surrounding blackness is sharp and mesmerizing. Imagine watching this slow tide of light descending the mountain, turning the gray stone into glowing silver and white. You feel the warmth returning to the world, a gentle thaw that relaxes the frozen landscape. The light is patient, taking its time to fill the crater, ensuring that nothing is missed. It is a gentle reminder that light always returns to the darkness, descending slowly and surely to find you. Iron and stone remain bright in the vacuum of space, without oxygen to rust the metal or wind to dull the facets. The rocks on the surface retain a pristine, crystalline shine that lasts for eternity. A stone broken open a billion years ago still glitters as if it were cracked just moments ago. The surface is a gallery of preserved geological art, where every fracture and grain is kept in perfect condition by the stillness of the void. There is no decay here, only a permanent, sparkling state of being. Picture a field of scattered rocks that twinkle under the earthlight, each one a tiny mirror reflecting the peace of the cosmos. You feel a sense of timeless purity, cleanliness that comes from a world untouched by time or weather. It is a reminder that deep down, your core remains brightened and energized by the world, waiting to shine in the quiet. The satellite travels without a sound through the void. The moon orbits the Earth at thousands of miles an hour, yet it moves with a silence that is absolute. There is no roar of wind, no friction of air, only the effortless glide of a heavy sphere through the emptiness. It follows a path that was laid down at the dawn of the solar system, a track that requires no steering and no energy to maintain. The momentum carries it forward in a state of perpetual, weightless grace. Imagine you are moving with it, swept along by a current that is smooth and invisible. You feel the sensation of motion without vibration, a pure, clean drift that rocks you gently into a state of trance. The universe moves around you while you remain still. It is a gentle reminder that you do not need to force your way forward. You can simply let the current carry you. Perfect circles of shadow mark the surface like ancient stamps. The craters are scattered across the plains in every size, from microscopic pits to vast basins that span continents. Each one is a bowl of silence, a receptacle for the dark that has been carved into the crust. In the oblique light of the lunar dawn, these craters cast long, elliptical shadows that stretch across the gray dust. They are deep pockets of cool stillness, interrupting the flat monotony of the plains with their perfect geometry. Picture yourself curling up inside one of these shallow, dusty bowls, hidden below the rim of the world. You will feel the protection of the earth walls around you, shielding you from the view of the stars. The ground is soft and powdery, conforming to your shape. It is a reminder that there are always hollow spaces carved out for you, safe places where you can lie down undressed. A massive stone rests exactly where it stopped rolling. On the slope of a gentle hill, a solitary boulder sits in the dust, having tumbled down from the heights a million years ago. Its track is still visible in the soft soil, a dotted line that marks its journey. Since coming to a halt, it has not moved a single millimeter, sitting in a meditative stillness that defies the human concept of time. It is a monument to the act of stopping. There is no urge to move further, no momentum left to spend. Imagine leaning your back against this sun-warmed rock, sharing in its ancient stability. You feel the heavy, grounding presence of the stone supporting your weight, anchoring you to the hillside. It is a gentle reminder that once you have arrived at a place of rest, you are allowed to stop completely and stay there as long as you wish. The galaxy stretches out in a continuous band of light. With no atmosphere to dim the view, the Milky Way is fully visible from the lunar surface, a bioluminescent in spine of the night that arcs overhead. It is a dense river of stars, dust, and glowing gas that looks like diamond dust scattered on black velvet. The depth of the view is infinite. You are looking directly into the heart of the galaxy. The light is steady and unblinking, a permanent fixture that watches over the sleeping moon. Picture lying back and letting your vision dissolve into this river of light, tracing the dark lanes of cosmic dust that weave through the stars. You feel small in the most comforting way, a tiny part of a vast, beautiful whole. It is a reminder that you are part of a limitless universe, and there is plenty of space for your dreams to wander. Gravity holds the moon in a gentle, invisible law. The same face of the moon is always turned toward the earth, held in place by the tidal forces that bond the two worlds together. This is not a rigid gauge, but a stable embrace, a synchronization of rotation and orbit that keeps the relationship constant. The moon does not turn away, it remains focused, attentive, and loyal to its companion planet. This locking creates a sense of permanent orientation, a knowing of exactly where you are in relation to home. Imagine the feeling of being held securely by a hand you cannot see, kept safe from spitting out into the dark. You feel the stability of this bond, a gravitational anchor that keeps you centered no matter how fast the universe moves. It is a gentle reminder that you are held by forces of love and gravity, keeping you safe and steady through the night. The moon gently nods in a slow, rhythmic sway. While one face is locked toward the earth, the sphere breathes with a subtle wobbling motion known as vibration. It is a slight tilting of the head, rocking back and forth that reveals hidden slivers of the edge before tucking them back into the dark. This movement is agonizingly slow, a cosmic nodding that occurs over the course of the month, rocking the world in a cradle of gravity. The motion is too slow to be seen with the eye, but it is felt as a gentle, shifting balance in the sky. Imagine the heavy sphere adjusting its position on a soft pillow, tilting slightly to find a more comfortable angle in the void. You feel the soothing rhythm of the sway, a pendulum that swings with infinite patience. The moon is not rigid, it is relaxed and floating in a flexible hold. It is a gentle reminder that even in a fixed position, there is room to move and find your comfort. Low ridges ripple across the frozen lava seas. Running through the flat, dark plains are long, winding spines of rock known as wrinkled ridges. These are the veins of the moon, formed eons ago when the lava leaks cooled and contracted, buckling the surface into gentle, rolling hills. They rise only slightly above the level ground, casting long, serpentine shadows when the sun is low. There is no sharpness to these features. They are smooth, arched swells that meander across the landscape like slow waves turned to stone. Picture a calm ocean where the swells have been frozen in place, preserving the memory of movement in a solid form. You trace the line of the ridge as it snakes into the darkness, a path that rises and falls with a hypnotic regularity. The ground is textured and soothing to the eye. It is a reminder that the pressures of the past eventually settle into a landscape of smooth and quiet ripples. Dust grains stack in fragile towers of silence. On a microscopic level, the lunar soil builds intricate, open structures that defy the gravity of Earth. In the vacuum and low gravity, the tiny particles stick together in delicate arrangements known as fairy castles, balancing precariously on top of one another. These microscopic spires are mostly empty space, a fluffy, porous architecture that waits in the dark, undisturbed by wind or breath. It is a structure of pure fragility that remains strong because nothing exists to knock it down. Imagine shrinking down to walk among these tiny towers of grey dust, seeing the gaps where the light shines through the grains. The ground is not a solid block, but a soft, airy sponge that holds the silence in its millions of tiny pockets. You feel the lightness of the earth, a foundation that is more hair than stone. It is a gentle reminder that you do not need to be hard or rigid to stand, you can be soft and still. A single mountain stands in the center of the bowl. Inside the largest craters, a central peak rises from the floor, a monument to the moment of impact. When the ancient asteroid struck, the ground behaved like water, splashing upward in the center before freezing instantly into rock. This peak stands alone in the middle of the vast, flat depression, surrounded by a ring of distant cliffs. It is a mountain born from a release of energy, now standing silent and still in the heart of the shadow. Picture the sun catching the tip of this central spire while the rest of the crater lies in deep darkness. It looks like a lighthouse in a black ocean, glowing with a soft, bioluminescent light. You feel the centering presence of this peak, a focal point that draws your attention away from the chaos and brings it to a single, quiet dot. It is a reminder that in the center of every empty space, there is a solid point where you can rest. The bright moon is actually made of dark stone. Despite its brilliant silver glow in the night sky, the surface of the moon is composed of rocks as dark as worn asphalt. It possesses a low albedo, absorbing most of the sunlight that hits it and reflecting only a fraction back to the eyes. The brightness is an illusion created by the contrast with the pitch-black void of space. The ground is humble and dark, content to hold the heat rather than shine. Imagine holding a piece of the moon in your hand and seeing its true color, a deep, restful charcoal that drinks in the light. It does not glare or dazzle. It simply glows with a muted, reflected energy. You feel the visual softness of this dark terrain, a landscape that does not demand your attention but allows your eyes to relax. It is a gentle reminder that you do not need to be bright or flashy. It is enough to simply exist in the dark. No wind has ever touched the silent gray peaks. The mountains of the moon are not smoothed by air or rain. They retain the primal shape of their birth. Yet, without the atmosphere to carry sound or force, they stand in a peaceful vacuum that strips them of all aggression. The peaks do not loom, they float against the star-filled sky, their edges crisp and defined in the absolute clarity of space. There is no weather to endure here, only the eternal, static vacuum that preserves the stone forever. Picture a mountain range that has sat in perfect stillness for 3 billion years, never shivering in a storm, never eroding in the rain. The silence that surrounds these peaks is thick and physical, a heavy blanket that dampens all vibration. You feel the permanence of the rock, a stability that outlasts all confusion. It is a reminder that you can stand still and unaffected, no matter what storms may be blowing far away. The Silver Guardian watches over the sleeping world. For as long as life has existed, this silent sphere has kept its vigil in the sky, marking the passage of the night. It is the only object that visits every human in the dark, a shared presence that unites the world in sleep. Its watch is passive and not intrusive, the simple act of being there when the sun goes down. The moon does not judge or demand, it only reflects the light and pulls the tides. Imagine the moon hanging in the frame of your window, a glowing, heavy sentinel that keeps the darkness from being too absolute. You feel a sense of companionship and knowing that you are not alone in the room. The light is a cool hand on your forehead, smoothing away the worries of the day. It is a gentle reminder that you are safely watched over by the universe, and you are free to close your eyes and let go. The sphere swells and shrinks in a slow breath. As the moon circles the earth, it does not trace a perfect circle, but a gentle ellipse that brings it closer and then carries it away. This is a slow, rhythmic pulsing of size and proximity, a breathing and unbreathing out of the celestial body. At times it hangs large and heavy over the horizon, a supermoon that dominates the night. At other times it recedes into a smaller, distant companion. The rhythm of this cycle is measured in weeks, a pacing that is too slow to feel but deep enough to affect the tides. Imagine watching the moon grow slightly larger in the window frame night after night, expanding its presence before slowly drifting back into the void. You feel the gravitational tide rising and falling within the room, a gentle swaying motion that rocks the atmosphere. It is a gentle reminder that even in a repetitive cycle, there is a rhythm of coming close and drifting away that brings you rest. Heat lingers in the stone long after the sun. The lunar surface has no air to whisk the warmth away, so the rocks hold on to the memory of the day deep into the night. This is thermal inertia, the reluctance of the dense stone to let go of its energy. The warmth is stored in the core of the boulders and the deep layers of the dust, radiating slowly back into the vacuum in a silent, invisible glow. It is a slow exhale of temperature, a gradual cooling that ensures the transition to the cold is gentle and measured. Picture placing your hand on a sun-baked rock in the middle of the lunar night and feeling the faint, subterranean warmth still pulsing against your palm. It feels like a living thing, a dormant heat that defies the freezing dark. It is a reminder that you can hold on to warmth and comfort long after the source is gone, keeping yourself safe in the night. Ancient walls have been flooded by the silent seas. In the early days, massive craters were breached by the rising tide of molten lava, which filled them to the brim and cooled into flat, dark floors. These are the walled plains, vast arenas of smooth stone surrounded by a ring of jagged cliffs. The interior is perfectly level, a sanctuary of flatness where the chaos of the impact has been erased by the liquid rock. The walls stand as a protective barrier, holding back the rest of the world and creating a quiet, enclosed space. Imagine standing in the center of one of these great stone amphitheaters, looking at the distant rim that circles you like a fortress. The ground is smooth black glass and dust, offering no obstacles to your rest. You feel completely enclosed and defended by the high walls. It is a gentle reminder that you can build a wall around your peace, keeping the noise of the world outside while you rest. Dust falls with a dreamlike and liquid slowness. In the low gravity of the moon, nothing crashes to the ground, it drifts. If a handful of sand is thrown, it does not scatter instantly, but arcs through the vacuum in a slow, parabolic curve. Each grain moves independently, unhindered by air resistance, landing with a soft, cushioned silence. The motion is hypnotic, a visual delay that makes everything look like it is happening underwater. The impact of a fall is removed, replaced by a gentle, floating descent that gives the mind time to process the movement. Picture kicking up a small cloud of the gray battering, watching it hang in the black sky, settling back down in slow motion like falling snow. You feel your own body becoming light and buoyant, released from the heavy pull of the earth. It is a gentle reminder that you do not need to rush to land. You can rest slowly and settle softly into your place of rest. The ground holds the scattered ash of distant stars. The lunar soil is not just local rock. It is a mixture of cosmic debris that has rained down from the galaxy for billions of years. Particles from comets, asteroids, and distant supernovae are trapped in the gray regolith, preserved in the vacuum. The surface is a museum of the universe, holding the chemical signature of worlds that no longer exist. It is a silent gathering of the cosmos into a single, soft layer of dust. Imagine lying on this bed of stardust, knowing that the atoms beneath you have traveled across the galaxy to offer you a place to rest. The ground glitters faintly with the history of the sky. You feel a connection to the deep past, a sense of belonging to the vast machinery of the stars. It is a reminder that you are made of the same ancient, peaceful matter as the stars, that you are right where you belong. 3 worlds align in a perfect straight line. Occasionally, the sun, the earth, and the moon drift into a precise formation known as syzygy. It is a moment of cosmic tension and balance, where the shadows and the gravity align in a single, invisible thread. The forces of the solar system pull together in a unified direction, creating the highest tides and the deepest shadows. There is a sense of clicking into place, a feeling that the gears of the universe have locked into a perfect, momentary harmony. Picture an invisible line stretching through the center of the earth, connecting you to the bright sun on one side and the silent moon on the other. You are held in the center of this celestial tug of war, balanced perfectly between the light and the dark. You feel the satisfaction of alignment, of everything being exactly where it is supposed to be. It is a gentle reminder that when things line up, you can stop struggling and simply float in the balance. Everything that lands you stays forever. The moon is a world of permanent preservation, where there is no wind to blow objects away and no water to wash them clean. A star that rolls to a stop today will remain in that exact position for an eternity. The landing sites of ancient probes and the footsteps of visitors are etched into the surface as if they happened only seconds ago. It is a place where nothing is lost, nothing is forgotten, and nothing ever decays. The stillness is a form of protection, keeping every memory sharp and clear in the vacuum. Picture leaving a heavy worry on the surface of the moon, setting it down on a flat gray stone. You walk away, knowing that it will stay there millions of miles away from you, held in the silence forever. You feel the relief of knowing that you can put things down and they will not follow you. It is a gentle reminder that you can leave your burdens in a safe place and walk away into the quiet. White foam of stone floated on the heavy magma ocean. In the violent heat of the beginning, the heavier elements sank deep into the core, but the lighter crystals rose to the top like cream on milk. This ancient crust formed a bright, floating shell that rode the waves of liquid fire before hardening into the white highlands we see today. The chaos of the molten sea was slowly capped by this pristine, protective layer, sealing the heat away in the darkness below. There is a sense of buoyancy here, rising above the turbulence to find a solid place in the light. Picture the glowing white islands of rock drifting together in a dark red sea, slowly locking into place to form a permanent shield. You feel the lightness of the stone, a refusal to sink into the depths. It is a gentle reminder that even in a sea of change, you can rise to the surface and find a solid place to rest. Broken shards were fused together by a sudden heat. The surface of the moon is covered in breccia, a rock made from the fragments of older stones that were fragmented and then melted back into a single piece. The intensity of the impact did not destroy the rock. It rearranged it, creating a new, stronger mosaic from the scattered debris. The heat acted as a binding agent, soldering the pieces together in a permanent embrace that has lasted for billions of years. The scars are not hidden, but they are healed, locked frozen in a matrix of glass and stone. Imagine holding a rock that is made of many different colors and shapes, all smoothed and melted into one unified form. You feel the solidity of the bond, the way that pieces support one another in the silence. It is a reminder that broken things can be mended into something strong and beautiful, allowing you to rest in your own wholeness. The sun shines brightly in a sky of pure ink. On the moon, there is no blue atmosphere to scatter the light, so the sky remains a deep, profoundly beautiful black even at high noon. The sun is a stark, white circle of fire that hangs in the void, sharing the sky with the brighter stars. This creates a surreal contrast where the ground is washed in brilliance, but the heavens are wrapped in eternal night. The light does not diffuse or soften. It strikes the ground with a direct, honest clarity. Picture standing on a bright white plain, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face while looking up into a soothing, endless night that never ends. You feel the duality of the scene, the perfect balance between the energy of the day and the peace of the dark. It is a gentle reminder that you can carry the comfort of the night with you, even in the middle of the bright day. A vast depression hides on the far side forever. Deep on the hidden face of the moon lies one of the largest impact basins in the solar system, a hole so wide and deep it changes the shape of the world. It is a scar from the dawn of time, a massive bowl that has collected the darkness for eons. The floor of this basin is miles below the highlands, a subterranean realm where the gravity feels slightly stronger and the silence feels slightly thicker. The rim is a mountain range that blocks out the low sun, creating a permanent twilight at the edges. Imagine descending into this vast, ancient valley, sinking lower and lower into the crust of the moon. You feel the sense of being cradled in a deep, protective dip in the ground. It is a reminder that the deepest hollows are often the safest places to lie down and let the world pass by. The ground clicks softly as it cools in the dark. When the shadow of the earth passes over the moon during an eclipse, the sudden drop in temperature causes the rocks to contract. This thermal shifting creates a tiny, rhythmic ticking sound that travels through the solid ground, a microscopic settling of the crust. It is the sound of tension leaving the stone, a physical release of the energy stored during the long day. The rock relaxes, shrinking slightly to fit more comfortably into the cold night. There is no damage in this movement, only a comfortable adjustment to the change in weather. Picture the landscape around you breathing a sigh of relief as the heat evaporates, the stones settling into a cooler, tighter formation. You feel your own muscles mimicking this release, contracting and relaxing into the mattress. It is a gentle reminder that it is good to release the heat of the day and settle comfortably into the cool of the night. Invisible lines of magnetism loop through the graves. Though the moon has no global magnetic field, there are local pockets where the rock remembers the magnetic fire of the past. These anomalies create invisible umbrellas of force that arch over the surface, deflecting the solar wind in silent, graceful curves. The dust beneath these arches remains bright and untouched, protected from the weathering of the stars. It is a hidden architecture of energy, a secret shelter that can only be felt, not seen. The lines of force are static and stable, holding their shape against the flow of the universe. Picture these magnetic loops as faint, glowing rainbows of energy protecting the ground where you lie. You feel the sense of being covered by a shield that requires no power to maintain. It is a gentle reminder that you are protected by invisible forces that keep a space clear for your rest. The orbit is a perfect circle of silent trust. For billions of years, the moon has followed the same path around the Earth, never straying and never rushing. It is a journey without a destination, a continuous loop that celebrates the act of returning. The path is smooth and worn deep into the fabric of gravity, a groove in the cosmos that guides the traveler home. There is no need to steer or correct the course. The physics of the universe handle all the navigation. The repetition is not boring, it is hypnotic, a reliable rhythm that anchors the calendar of human life. Imagine you are riding on this track, sliding effortlessly along a rail of smooth glass that circles the world. You feel the momentum carrying you without any effort from your lens. It is a gentle reminder that you are on the right path, and you can trust the cycle to bring you exactly where you need to be. Time stretches out into an endless and unbroken circle. In this environment devoid of wind or weather, there are no ticking clocks to mark the passing of the hours. The landscape exists in a permanent present, where a second into a century feel exactly the same. The pressure to move forward is dissolved by the vacuum, leaving only a vast, suspended moment of being. Events do not happen here, they have already happened, and now the dust simply settles in the aftermath. Imagine sitting in a room where the walls are made of infinite space and the air is perfectly still, stopping all aging and all urgency. You feel the anxiety of the ticking clock fading away, replaced by the deep, heavy comfort of a time that never runs out. The stillness wraps around you, preserving you in a state of perfect rest. It is a gentle reminder that you can step out of the rush of time and simply exist in the quiet now. Deep heat slowly escapes into the endless black void. For billions of years, the thermal energy of the moon has been radiating gently away, leaving the stone cool and solid. This is a long, slow exhale of the planet's energy, a relaxation of the crust that has lasted for eons. The fever of creation is broken, replaced by the stable, soothing chill of the rock. The ground absorbs the cold of space, pulling it down into the depths to soothe the ancient fire. Picture the heat rising off your own body like a faint mist, carried away by the cool night air until you are perfectly comfortable. You feel the temperature dropping to a level of hibernation, a coolness that slows the heart and calms the mind. The stone beneath you is solid and refreshing against the skin. It is a reminder that it is good to cool down, to let go of the heat, and to find your rest. A soft blue light illuminates the dark lunar night. When the sun is hidden behind the moon, the landscape is not left in total darkness, but is bathed in the reflection of the earth. This earthshine is a ghost of a light weakened filter, casting a surreal, bioluminescent glow over the craters. It is a light that has traveled from the oceans and clouds of home, bouncing across the void to offer a nightlight to the solitary moon. The illumination is passive and gentle, revealing only the softest outlines of the terrain. Imagine lying in a dark room that is lit only by the glow of a distant television, a blue and shifting light that is familiar and safe. You feel the comfort of this secondary light, knowing that even in the deepest shadow, you are still connected to the source. It is a gentle reminder that you are never left completely in the dark. A soft light always remains. Tiny particles float suspended in the twilight boundary zone. At the line where day meets night, the changing electrical charge of the surface causes the finest dust to lift off the ground. These specks of matter hover in the vacuum, caught in a silent levitation that defies gravity. They form a tenuous, invisible horizon of dust that glows faintly when it catches the sun. There is no wind to support them, only the silent forces of the cosmos holding them aloft. Picture a fog made of silver glitter that hangs motionless in the air, neither rising nor falling. You watch the particles drift in the emptiness, mesmerizing and slow, catching the last rays of the light. You feel your own thoughts floating up and away, detaching from the heavy ground to drift in the quiet air. It is a reminder that you can let go of the heavy things and let them float harmlessly away into the night. The stars burn with a steady and unblinking gaze. Without an atmosphere to interfere, the constellations do not twinkle or waver. They stare down with a piercing, absolute stability. The light is a solid beam that cuts through the emptiness, arriving at the surface with the same intensity it left the star. The sky is a tapestry of fixed points, a map that never changes and never fades. The visual noise of the twinkling is done, replaced by a calm, eternal watching. Picture the ceiling of the night painted with thousands of white dots that are perfectly still, like diamonds frozen in dark ice. You feel the steadiness of their presence, a grid of light that holds the sky in place so it cannot fall. The consistency allows your eyes to rest without distraction. It is a gentle reminder that the universe is steady and unmoving, holding a quiet vigil while you sleep. The landscape remains frozen in a perfect eternal pause. Since there is no wind to erode the mountains and no water to shift the sand, the surface of the moon is a monument to stillness. A footprint left in the dust today will remain sharpened, undisturbed for 1,000,000 years. The history of the world is written in permanent ink, locked in a vacuum that prevents all change. It is a library of silence where nothing has ever moved or lost. Imagine a garden of stone where nothing ever grows or dies, where the arrangement of the rocks is perfect and final. You feel a deep sense of relief knowing that nothing here needs to be fixed, moved, or improved. The environment is finished and complete. It is a reminder that you have done enough, and you can now rest in a state of perfect, unchanging peace. The universe holds the moon in a silent, heavy grip. Gravity is the invisible blanket that wraps around the sphere, keeping it whole and keeping it close to the earth. It is a force of attraction that never wavers, a constant, crushing hug that pulls everything toward the center. The moon surrenders to this pull, allowing itself to be dragged through the cosmos in a fixed orbit. There is no struggle in this surrender, only the physics of belonging. The weight of the stone is a testament to this bond. Picture feeling a heavy, weighted blanket being pulled up over your shoulders, pressing you down into the mattress with a comforting pressure. You feel the security of being held down, preventing you from floating off into the chaos. It is a gentle reminder that you are grounded and held by forces much larger than yourself, so you can safely fall asleep. A heavy tide pulls against the spinning of the world. The moon exerts a constant, gentle drag on the oceans of the earth, a friction that acts as a cosmic brake on the planet's rotation. In the ancient past, the day was short and frantic, but the patience of the moon has stretched the hours, lengthening the time for light and the time for rest. It is a slow, breaking force that calms the chaotic energy of the spin, turning a rapid whirl into a majestic, measured rotation. The energy of the water rubbing against the seabed is a lullaby that quiets the planet. Imagine the vast oceans rising up to meet the moon, holding onto the land and slowing it down with the weight of the water. You feel the frenetic pace of life bleeding away, replaced by a rhythm that is slow, deep, and heavy. It is a gentle reminder that there is a force at work that is helping you to slow down. The fire inside the stone has settled into sleep. Deep within the core of the moon, the volcanic heat that once shaped the world has radiated away into the cold of space. The magma has crystallized into solid rock, ending the era of shifting ground and flowing fire. The planet has relaxed into a permanent state of cool stability, where the crust is thickened and moving. There is no trembling in the ground, no pressure building up to an explosion, only the heavy silence of stone that has finished its work. Imagine the heat leaving the rocks around you, drifting off like steam into the night air, leaving behind a surface that is cold to the touch. You feel the solidity of the cold ground, a foundation that will never shift or crack beneath you. It is a gentle reminder that the fires of the day always eventually burn down to a cool, quiet ash. Broken edges are softened by a blanket of grayness. The micrometeoroids that rain down on the surface act as a cosmic sandpaper, slowly grinding the sharp peaks of the mountains into rounded, gentle hills. Over billions of years, the jagged rocks of the ancient impacts have been buried under layers of soft powder, smoothing out the roughness of the terrain. The landscape is not harsh, it is rolling and soft, a sea of undulations that is easy on the eyes. The intensity of the past is covered by the gentle accumulation of time. Picture a world where every sharp corner has been sanded down, leaving only smooth curves and soft transitions. You feel the texture of the ground changing from hard rock to deep, yielding sand that cushions your weight. It is a reminder that time softens every hard edge, turning the rough places into a comfortable bed for your rest. Distant storms appear as silent swirls of white clouds. Viewed from the quiet surface of the moon, the weather of the earth is a beautiful, mute display of color. You can see the spiral of a hurricane or the line of a storm front, but across the vacuum, the thunder is stripped away. The chaos is reduced to a slow, spinning pattern of bioluminescent white against the blue marble, completely detached from your reality. There is no wind to feel, no rain to get you wet, only the peaceful observation of a distant motion. Imagine sitting in a silent room watching a storm rage on a screen with the volume turned down to zero. You feel a profound sense of safety, separated from the noise by a vast, impassable ocean of silence. It is a gentle reminder that you can observe the noise of the world without letting it touch your peace. The light of darkness advances with a heavy certainty. The Terminator is the moving edge of the night, a physical wall of shadow that creeps across the craters and plains. It does not rush, it moves with the inevitability of time itself, claiming the landscape for the dark. As it passes, the bright, sunlit world is extinguished, replaced by the cool, restful comfort of the void. The details of the ground vanish into the shade, simplifying the world into a single, uniform black. Picture this wall of shadow approaching you, a wave of cool air that washes over your skin and lowers the temperature. You feel the light leaving your eyes, allowing the muscles of your face to relax into the dark. It is a gentle reminder that the night is coming to cover you, and you can simply lie still and let it arrive. Gravity pulls everything toward a center of deep rest. The moon is a heavy sphere, and its mass creates a field of attraction that holds everything close to the surface. This pull is not a cage, but an anchor, preventing the dust and the stones from drifting away into the lonely emptiness of space. It is a constant, reassuring hug from the planet itself, a force that says, "Stay here." The weight you feel is a sensation of belonging to the ground. Imagine sinking deeper into the mattress, feeling the gravity of the earth reaching up to hold you. You feel heavy and settled, unable to float away, rooted in a place of safety. The physical pressure is a comfort, a blanket of physics that keeps you secure. It is a gentle reminder that you are grounded and held, and you do not need to hold on to yourself. A silent ocean of stone waits without a tide. The Maria are vast plains of solidified basalt that look like seas, but they have no water to crash against the shore. These are oceans that have frozen in time, their waves locked into the rock forever. There is no sound of surf, no rising and falling of the water level, only the eternal, flat expanse of the dark gray plain. The stillness here is profound, a liquid chaos that has been tamed into a solid peace. Imagine walking out onto the surface of this stone ocean, feeling the perfect flatness beneath your feet. The horizon is a straight line of interrupted silence. You feel the calm of a sea that never storms, a body of water that has found its final, perfect shape. It is a gentle reminder that your own thoughts can settle like this stone ocean, becoming flat, dark, and perfectly still. A single day lasts for weeks of unbroken silence. On this slow-turning world, the sun takes nearly a month to complete its journey across the black sky. The concept of a hurried afternoon does not exist here. There is only a long, drawn-out exposure to the light followed by an equal span of darkness. The shadows do not flee. They pivot with an agonizing slowness, inching across the gray dust like the hands of a clock that is almost stopped. The passage of time is felt rather than seen, a heavy, rhythmic shifting of the light that refuses to be rushed. Picture yourself sitting on a rock where the afternoon stretches on for 300 hours, the sun hanging motionless in the void. You feel the pressure of the schedule dissolving, replaced by a sense of infinite leisure. The light is warm and constant, holding the moment still. It is a gentle reminder that there is no need to rush, for the day is long enough to hold everything you need. Heavy metals lie sleeping in the dark arenas. The vast dark plains of the lunar seas are rich with iron and titanium, dense elements that were forged in the hearts of dying stars. These heavy atoms have settled into the regolith, giving the ground a weight and a gravity that feels profound. The soil here is not light or airy, it is substantial, a blanket of crushed metal and stone that anchors the world in the vacuum. The darkness of the mare is the color of this iron, a deep, restful black that absorbs the energy of the sun without reflecting it back. Imagine running your hands through a pile of cool, darks that glitters faintly with the weight of the metal. You feel the grounding influence of the iron, a magnetic heaviness that pulls the tension out of your body and down into the earth. It is a reminder that you are supported by a foundation that is solid, heavy, and incredibly strong. Small glass mirrors wait patiently for a distant beat. Sitting on the silent plains are arrays of retro-reflectors, left behind by visitors from long ago. They sit in the dust facing the earth, waiting for a pulse of laser light to strike them. There is no power, source, no movement, just the passive readiness to reflect the light back to its source. They have waited in the silence for decades, untouched by the environment, serving as a fixed point of reference in the shifting universe. The light arrives, bounces, and returns in a fraction of a second, a silent conversation of photons. Picture a sudden, brief flash of bioluminescent green light striking the mirror in the dark, illuminating the dust for a microcell dot before vanishing. You feel the connection being made, a thread of light tying the two worlds together in the dark. It is a gentle reminder that you do not need to speak to be heard. You only need to be there to reflect the light. Deep pits open into the hollow belly of the world. Scattered across the volcanic plains are skylights, circular openings that lead down into vast, empty lava tubes. These are the entrances to the underworld, natural cathedrals of stone that have been sealed off from the sun for billions of years. The darkness inside is absolute, a pool of cool, stagnant shadow that never shifts. The air outside is a vacuum, but the space inside feels even emptier, a void within a void. The temperature is constant and soothing, shielded from the extremes of the surface. Imagine standing at the edge of one of these pits, looking down into a darkness that is thick and velvety. You feel a cool draft rising from the depths, a breath of ancient air that smells of crushed stone and silence. It is a reminder that there are deep, hidden sanctuaries where you can retreat and remain completely undisturbed. Iron remains black and silver in the airless void. On Earth, metal rusts and decays, eaten away by the oxygen in the air. But here, in the pristine vacuum of the moon, the iron in the rocks remains forever pure. A shard of metal broken 1 million years ago still gleams with a sharp silver light, untarnished by the passage of time. The chemistry of decay has been paused, allowing the materials to exist in a state of permanent preservation. The landscape is a collection of perfect, unaltered minerals that sparkle against the black sky. Picture a field of dark stones that glint with metallic flashes under the starlight, looking as fresh as the day they were formed. You feel a sense of cleanliness of a world that is sterile and safe, where nothing rots or fades. It is a gentle reminder that deep down, your true self remains pure and untouched by the wear and tear of the world. The blue marble sinks slowly behind the jagged rim. From certain orbits, the Earth appears to set, dipping below the horizon and leaving the moon alone in the dark. This is a slow, majestic disappearance, the bright colors of the home planets lighting down behind the mountains until only a blue halo remains. The light fades gradually, turning the gray landscape into a silhouette before plunging it into total shadow. The connection is not broken, only dimmed, allowing the moon to have its own private moment of night. The sky becomes larger and empty without the earth, a vast dome of stars that wraps around the horizon. Imagine watching the blue light fade away, leaving you in a comfortable, private darkness that feels intimate and safe. You feel the relief of solitude, the quiet joy of being the only one awake in the universe. It is a gentle reminder that it is okay to let the world disappear for a while and rest in your own shadow. Invisible dust falls like rain on the ancient stones. The space around the moon is not truly empty. It is filled with microscopic grains of cosmic dust that spiral slowly inward. This is a gentle, unending precipitation that adds a fine layer of softness to the world every day. The accumulation is too slow to see, but over eons it buries the hard rocks in a deep, fluffy blanket. The sharp edges are covered, the cracks are filled, and the world is made round and soft. It is a silent burial of the past, a covering of old scars with a fresh coat of star stuff. Picture the dust settling on your shoulders like a weightless gray snow, covering you in a layer of protection. You feel the sensation of being tucked in and being hidden beneath a warm, heavy duvet of silence. It is a reminder that time is constantly working to cover you, protect you, and soften the world around you. Ancient rings are buried beneath the smooth, dark sea. Long ago, the basins of craters were flooded by rising tides of molten rock, filling the deep bowls until only the very rims remained visible. These are the ghost craters, faint circular ripples that mark where a hole used to be, now smoothed over by the cooling earth. The force of the impact has been erased, covered by a thick, heavy blanket of stone that has hardened into a perfect, flat floor. The landscape remembers the shape, but the depth has been filled in, leaving only a gentle, phantom outline in the gray dust. Picture yourself tracing the curve of these buried walls, feeling the smoothness of the lava plain that has covered the past. You feel a sense of closure, as if the earth has healed itself and smoothed over the rough edges. It is a gentle reminder that even deep hollows are eventually filled and made level, allowing you to rest on solid ground. Tiny spheres of glass glitter in the deep dust. Scattered throughout the gray regolith are microscopic beads of orange and emerald green, formed billions of years ago by volcanic fire fountains. These tiny jewels cooled instantly in the vacuum, trapping the colors of the ancient fire inside a perfect, smooth sphere. They lie hidden in the soil, waiting for a stray beam of starlight to make them sparkle against the charcoal background. There is no movement to disturb them. They are suspended in the silence of the soil, perfectly preserved treasures of the past. Picture lifting a handful of the heavy dust and seeing it shimmer with thousands of tiny, hidden lights. You feel the texture of the glass against your skin, smooth and cool, distinct from the rough stone. It is a reminder that there are beautiful, shining things hidden in the dark, waiting quietly to be found while you sleep. The satellite slowly drifts further into the deep void. With every rotation, the moon inches a tiny fraction further away from the Earth, expanding its orbit into the quiet of space. It is a slow, spiral dance that widens over millions of years, a gentle loosening of the gravitational grip. The moon is not running away, it is simply taking more space, stretching the invisible tether that binds the two worlds together. This drifting creates a sense of expansion, a breathing room that grows larger with every passing night. Imagine you are floating in this widening gap, feeling the comfort of the distance increasing around you. You feel the freedom of the open void, the luxury of having nowhere you need to be and no one holding you too tight. It is a gentle reminder that it is natural to drift away and take the space you need to find your peace. Low ridges ripple across the frozen lava plains. Running through the flat, dark seas are long, winding hills known as wrinkle ridges. These soft swells in the stone were formed when the lava cooled and contracted, buckling the surface into gentle waves that have been frozen in time. They do not have sharp peaks, they are rolling, smooth arches that snake across the landscape like a river of solid shadow. The sun catches one side and leaves the other in darkness, creating a rhythmic pattern of light and dark on the ground. Picture a calm ocean where the waves have stopped moving, holding their shape forever in the silence. You feel your eyes following the winding path of the ridge as it disappears into the horizon, lulling you into a trance. It is a reminder that the pressures of the past settle into gentle, rolling waves that are easy to rest upon. A single mountain stands in the center of the bowl. Inside the largest craters, the ground rebounded after the impact to form a central peak, a solitary spire that rises from the flat floor. This mountain stands alone, surrounded by miles of empty space in the distant ring of the crater walls. It is a monument to resilience, a peak that rose up from the pressure and now stands perfectly still in the quiet shadow. The silence around it is amplified by the ring of cliffs, creating a natural sanctuary where the wind never blows. Picture the tip of this central mountain catching the first light of dawn, glowing like a white beacon in a sea of black. You feel the centering energy of this peak, a single point of focus that anchors the swirling dark. It is a gentle reminder that, in the center of every empty space, there is a solid point where you can stand and be at peace. The bright moon is actually made of dark stone. Despite its brilliant silver glow in the night sky, the rocks of the moon are as dark as worn asphalt, absorbing the silence of the void. The brightness we see is merely a reflection of the sun, a trick of contrast against the infinite black of space. The surface does not generate its own noise or light. It is a humble, dark canvas that simply accepts what is given to it. The ground is restful and dim, a charcoal landscape that is easy on the eyes and cool to the touch. Imagine standing on this dark terrain, realizing that the blinding light was just an illusion, and the reality is a comfortable, soothing shadow. You feel the relief of the darkness, the lack of glare allowing your eyes to finally close. It is a reminder that you do not need to shine, you can simply rest in the comfort of your own quiet darkness. A silent mirror waits patiently for a distant beam. Sitting on the dusty plains are small retroreflectors, panels of glass left behind to bounce light back to earth. They sit in the absolute stillness, untouched by wind or rust, waiting for a signal that comes only once in a while. There is no battery, no hum of electronics, just the passive readiness of the glass. When light strikes them, they send it back instantly, a silent conversation between two worlds across the void. The rest of the time, they simply wait, reflecting the emptiness of the sky. Picture the small, geometric panel sitting quietly in the gray dust, reflecting a patch of stars in its face. You feel the patience of the object, the ability to sit perfectly still for decades without needing to move or speak. It is a gentle reminder that you can wait in the silence without expectation, reflecting only the peace that surrounds you. A deep blanket of dust softens every sharp edge. Over billions of years, the constant, silent rain of microscopic particles has buried the bedrock in a thick layer of gray powder. This regolith is not shallow. It is a deep, insulating ocean of debris that covers the hard crust in a soft, yielding buffer. The ground is cushioned, dampening the impact of every step and swallowing the vibrations of the stone. There is a sense of deep absorption here, where the harshness of the geology is hidden beneath the mattress of pulverized rock. Picture yourself sinking slowly into this deep, dry sand, feeling it mold perfectly to the contours of your body. It supports you completely, displacing the weight and holding you in a suspended, comfortable embrace. The texture is fine and soft, like flour that has not moved in eternity. It is a gentle reminder that the world is cushioned and soft, prepared to hold your weight while you rest. The sun rises with a slow and patient fire. Dawn on the moon is not a fleeting moment, but a majestic, week-long event where the light gradually reclaims the dark. The sun creeps over the horizon with infinite slowness, its rays stretching out to touch the tops of the craters while the floors remain in shadow. The transition is smooth and unhurried, a warming of the stone that happens atom by atom. There is no sudden glare, only a steady, rhythmic increase in brilliance that the eyes can easily adjust to. Imagine sitting on a high ridge, watching the light of gold light advance across the gray sea like a slow tide. You feel the gentle arrival of the warmth, a soothing sensation that seeps into your skin and relaxes the muscles. The light is inevitable but never rushed. It is a gentle reminder that warmth and light will always arrive in their own time, so you can wait with patience. The blue sphere sinks slowly behind the jagged rim. From the perspective of the far side, the earth dips below the horizon, vanishing from the sky and leaving the moon alone in the void. This earth set is a silent, graceful exit, the bright colors of home sliding down behind the mountains until they are extinguished. The light fades gradually, turning the landscape from a pale blue illumination to a deep, restful charcoal. The connection is paused, allowing for a time of total privacy and separation. The sky becomes larger and emptier, a vast dome of stars that offers no distraction. Picture watching the last sliver of blue light disappear, leaving you in a comfortable velvety darkness that feels intimate and safe. You feel the relief of solitude, the quiet joy of being the only one awake in the universe. It is a gentle reminder that it is safe to disappear for a while and rest in your own shadow. A heavy iron heart sleeps in the deep center. Beneath the layers of dust, the crushed rock, and the cooling mantle, the core of the moon rests in a subterranean slumber. It is the anchor of the world, a dense, silent weight that generates the gravity holding you to the surface. The fires that once burned here slow to a gentle warmth, buried under thousands of miles of insulating stone. It acts as a stabilizer, a heavy pendulum that keeps the moon's face turned eternally towards the earth. Picture your consciousness sinking down through the crust, moving through the dark, quiet layers of rock, deeper and deeper into the planet. You feel the sensation of becoming heavier, more grounded as you approach the center. It is a feeling of being held fast, of being rooted in something ancient and unmoving. It is a reminder that deep inside, there is a core of stillness that remains heavy and calm, no matter what happens on the surface. The silence is a thick and heavy physical weight. In the vacuum of space, sound does not just fade, it ceases to exist entirely. The medium for noise is absent, creating a profound isolation where the ears are given a complete rest. This is not a tense silence, but a luxurious, empty quiet that wraps around the head like a soft bandage. The lack of vibration allows the nervous system to power down, releasing the tension of listening. The environment is perfectly still, a sealed room where the chaos of the outside cannot enter. Imagine being submerged in a pool of water that is darker and quieter than the deepest ocean where the pressure holds you together. You feel the silence pressing gently against your eardrums, pushing away the memory of noise. It is a gentle reminder that you can turn off the volume of the world and sink into a place where nothing is asked of you. Smooth pools of glass wait in the dark hollows. In the deepest floors of the craters, the rock was once melted by ancient heat and cooled into flat, obsidian lakes. These sheets of impact melt are flawless in level, untouched by ripples or wind for a billion years. They interrupt the rough texture of the rubble with a surface that is slick and black, reflecting the stars in a dark mirror. The glass is cold and hard, a testament to the fact that even the most violent events eventually settle into a perfect, glassy calm. Picture yourself gliding across this frictionless surface, moving without effort over the frozen stone. You feel the coolness of the glass beneath you, a sleek foundation that offers no resistance. The contrast between the jagged cliffs and the smooth floor is deeply satisfying. It is a reminder that after the impact, everything eventually settles into a smooth, glassy peace. An invisible tether holds the traveler in the night. The moon is not wandering aimlessly. It is held in a firm, gravitational grip by the earth. The spine is invisible but unbreakable, a cosmic leash that keeps the satellites safe within the orbit. The path is a perfect ellipse, a repetitive journey that has been traced out for eons. There is no fear of drifting away into the endless black, for the gravity is a constant, loving weight that pulls the moon back every time it tries to leave. The motion is a balance of freedom and security, a swinging sensation that is rhythmic and soothing. Imagine the feeling of being held by a hand you cannot see, a force that guides you through the dark without you having to steer. You feel the security of the bond, the knowing that you are anchored. It is a gentle reminder that you are held by forces of love and gravity, keeping you safe and steady through the night. Floating islands of white stone rode the ancient tides. In the beginning, the surface was a sea of molten rock, but as the heat escaped into the void, the first crust began to form. These rafts of solid crystal floated on the liquid fire, drifting together to form a protective shell over the burning depths. The chaos of the magma ocean was slowly capped by this pristine, cooling layer, sealing the turbulence away in the darkness below. There is a sense of buoyancy here, rising above the heat to find a solid place in the cool vacuum. Picture the glowing white continents of rock drifting together on a dark red sea, slowly locking into place to form a permanent shield. You feel the lightness of the stone, her refusal to sink back into the depths. It is a gentle reminder that even in a sea of change, you can rise to the surface and find a solid place to rest. A constant rain of microscopic dust polishes the world. The space around the moon is filled with tiny particles that spiral inward, striking the surface in a silent, endless drizzle. This is not a destructive force, but a slow smoothing of the landscape, a sanding down of the rough edges over billions of years. The accumulation is invisible to the eye, but over eons, it softens the contours of the rocks and fills in the cracks of the craters. The ground is constantly being tucked in by this falling blanket of star stuff. Imagine a gentle, gray snow that never stops falling, covering the hard ground in a layer of soft, powdery silence. You feel the sensation of being covered, of being hidden beneath a warm, heavy duvet of cosmic dust. It is a reminder that time is constantly working to cover you, protect you, and soften the world around you. The line between day and night moves with heavy slowness. The Terminator is the moving edge of the shadow, a physical wall of darkness that creeps across the craters and blades. It does not rush, it moves with the inevitability of time itself, claiming the landscape for the rest of the night. As it passes, the bright, sunlit world is extinguished, replaced by the cool, restful comfort of the void. The details of the ground vanish into the shade, simplifying the world into a single, uniform blend. Picture the smallest shadow approaching you, a wave of cool air that washes over your skin and lowers the temperature. You feel the light leaving your eyes, allowing the muscles of your face to relax into the dark. It is a gentle reminder that the night is coming to cover you, and you can simply lie still and let it arrive. And so, we drift to the end of our quiet journey through the ancient, fiery dawn of our night sky. We have traveled from a colossal collision of worlds to the silent, silver orb that now watches over us. It is a story of chaos finding its rhythm. What began as molten debris has cooled into a steady, glowing companion. There is a deep peace in realizing that even the most violent beginnings can settle into a perfect, stabilizing order. It reminds us that no matter how turbulent the day, the dust always settles, leaving behind a gentle light to guide us through the dark. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. For now, the history is written, and the work is done. There is nothing left to solve and nothing left to do. Just breathe. Let your eyes grow heavy, softer than the moonlight. Let the slow, ancient orbit of the moon cradle your thoughts as you float away. Good night.